Hello there. Welcome to Just the Dis. We talk about Blu-rays here. And today I am talking about a film from Stanley Kubrick, one of my favorite films from Stanley Kubrick, and basically his early breakout movie in a lot of ways. And that is The Killing from 1956. This is the new 4K UHD from Kino Lorber. Nice slip cover there. I don't think it has alternate art. Oh, it does, actually. Very nice. It's got the old artwork. Actually, I'm going to flip that over, and we'll look at that. So The Killing is a really great heist movie, one of the prototypical heist movies from the 1950s. And it would, I think, influence a lot of heist films to come. People have talked about Reservoir Dogs and the potential influence this had. Maybe it was more about the novel that it's based on. It's a novel called A Clean Break by Lionel White. Tarantino actually credits Lionel White in the thank yous in his Reservoir Dogs screenplay. But what's interesting about it is its structure. It's a black and white movie, and by the way, this 4K looks wonderful. Very beautiful black and white cinematography by Lucian Ballard, who was a studio cameraman and apparently did not get on that well with Kubrick. This comes out in the commentary by Mr. Alan K. Rhodey, who's always a reliable commentarian. And he mentions that Kubrick was just so meticulous about the shots and what he wanted and the framing that I think Lucian Ballard just was not used to that and just didn't even show up to dailies, would not even look at dailies. Which is unusual. I think it was the first time in his career he'd ever done that. And anyway, just showed how Kubrick was a budding auteur, I guess, but definitely a meticulous filmmaker early on. But so it's a fascinating story about a racetrack robbery in Los Angeles, or in and about and around Los Angeles, wherein we see the robbery from multiple perspectives. Johnny Clay, Sterling Hayden, is here to lead the way. He's here to do sort of set everything up. He gathers the team. He gets together the different players, that sort of a variety of people that he needs to pull off this heist. There's a couple racetrack employees, one of them played by Alicia Cook Jr., the other's a track bartender. Alicia Cook is a ticket taker at the window. He's a key player in this movie. And then there is a guy called Marvin Unger. J.C. Flippin, I think, plays him. And he is fronting the money that they need to set up the heist, to pay off some people, to help distract things so that the heist can be pulled off. One of the distractions has to do with a horse and a rifle. Timothy Carey is dealing with that one. Timothy Carey, great character actor, delivers his entire performance through gritted teeth in this movie, and it's fascinating to watch. He is one of the oddest actors that I've heard described in the annals of Hollywood history. Just had a lot of odd habits and methods, but he works fine in this one, and obviously Kubrick would use him again in Paths of Glory, so he didn't put him off completely. So he's one of the distractions, and the other is a large, I think, Russian wrestler that he needs to start a bar fight in the track bar and gather all the security guards to drag him out. So these are payments that need to be made above and beyond before the heist. There's also a cop that's involved that I think has to be paid. I think he's part of the split. Anyway, so Johnny Clay figures the loot on this to be around $2 million, which in 1956 money is quite a lot of dough, to say the least. And he plans it out. He has this whole thing. We see it play out from these different perspectives. There's an interesting voiceover that I think obviously must come from the Lionel White novel that we hear throughout, which some may find distracting. It doesn't bother me anymore at this time. But so we see all these different perspectives. We see the whole thing time shifted. It's kind of like what happens in Jackie Brown. There's a heist in that we see from multiple perspectives as well. Reservoir Dogs, obviously, that's more just novelistic in terms of jumping around in time. It's not like Reservoir Dogs is ripping off The Killing because it's not done in the same way. That jumps backwards and forwards in time, much more like a novel. But it's just the time shift, I think, makes some people think that, oh, Reservoir Dogs is Tarantino's version of The Killing, maybe. I don't know. They're both great heist movies, both dealing with different things. Reservoir Dogs doesn't show the heist at all. This film shows it in, intricate detail, and the things that ultimately go wrong are not with the heist itself. They deal with some other outside forces. Some of the forces at play are, in this case, the racetrack employee played by Alicia Cook Jr. has a wife played by Marie Windsor, and I think one of the great femme fatale performances of all time. She is just this sort of gold digger type wife who's just like, you made all these promises to me and you have not delivered, and she's very sarcastic with him, just mean to him, out and out mean. And he takes it, but he weirdly is not, he's definitely bothered by the way she treats him, but he's found this opportunity and he thinks that when he gets his split of the money, things will be all better. She will, suddenly be a doting, wonderful wife that he wanted, and she's going to suddenly feel differently about him. And you see them together and you're kind of like, why did they marry each other? And at one point he actually asked her, why did you marry me? And so there's an interesting answer to that question, but she's really great in this and just incredibly manipulative, is basically manipulating him in every single thing she says to him in one way or another, trying to get information out of him or trying to coax him to staying involved with the heist when she finds out about it. And then we find out she's involved with a kind of gentleman playboy thief played by Vince Edwards, and that's a whole other complication. So there's lots of moving parts in this heist, and it's fascinating to watch it play out. And there are some, good tracking shots in the movie. There are some just good compositions. We're beginning to see Kubrick as a director and what he can do and what he will do in terms of his control and command of craft in the film, the editing and everything that's happening. It's really well done. So it's a solid heist film, and there's a Criterion Blu-ray of this now. I wonder if I can grab it. Yeah. Okay, so you have, in this one you have the Alan K. Rode commentary. Here is our Criterion Blu-ray, just to give you an idea what you get for that. You get a new video interview with producer James B. Harris and excerpted interviews with actor Sterling Hayden from a French television series, and a new interview with poet and author Robert Polito about writer Jim Thompson. So there's a lot of nice, I'm not getting rid of this. There's a lot of nice features on that. In fact, some of the stuff from the James B. Harris interview definitely seems to come out in the commentary from Alan K. Rode. But now what you do get here, obviously, is a brand new Dolby Vision HDR master from a 4K scan of the original camera negative. So this does definitely look better to me than the Criterion. It's just crisper. The detail is better. Black and white 4K, I'm really becoming addicted to, and I definitely thought this looked nice. So like I said, mileage may vary. You may want to keep your Killing Criterion as well. But that said, this is a wonderful addition. One of the things that comes up, again, in both the commentary and this James B. Harris interview, there's definitely either Rode watched the interview or was sourced some of the same kind of facts. Like, there's this whole bit about how James B. Harris first got involved with Kubrick, and it was like an early thing where I can't remember how he met him now, but Kubrick had just sold Killer's Kiss, his second feature. This is actually his third feature. He did Fear and Desire. He then does Killer's Kiss, which is good but not great. I did talk about that 4K, which also looks great and is definitely worth getting. Incredible Imogen Sarah Smith commentary on that. Putting The Killing and Killer's Kiss together on 4K in your collection is a really good idea, I think. But so Harris talks about getting involved with Kubrick after he had sold Killer's Kiss to MGM for like $75,000, which is like a little more than it had cost him to make it. And he said to Harris that he had some deal at MGM, or at least he thought he did. And so then Harris was like, maybe we can work together. And Harris found the novel Clean Break by Lionel White. He secured the rights for $10,000 after he gave the novel to Kubrick, and he read it and loved it, and they wanted to work out the script. They I can't remember. I think they hired Jim Thompson after they went to MGM. They basically went to MGM and said, look, we have this book. We want to make this movie. and basically, what about this deal that Kubrick has with you? And they were like, oh, well, first of all, we're already working on that movie with Frank Sinatra attached. And Harris was like, well, but Sinatra didn't secure the rights to the book. And so they were like, oh, okay. And realized that was probably not going to work for their project. But either they were, annoyed, or they just weren't doing the deal that Kubrick thought they were doing, or there's other factors I'll talk about in a second. But they were just basically like, okay, good luck making it. And that was it. And so then they, let us know when you get a script, and basically gave them the same deal that they would have at any studio. Like they could take a scripted project and let us know if you get a star to any studio and try and pitch it. So it wasn't such a special deal after all, I guess, is what I took away from hearing about that. And so it ended up being a thing where they got Sterling Hayden and they took that to MGM, and that wasn't enough. They said, well, he's not a big enough star, but we'll give you $200,000. Anything beyond that, you have to pay for, and we get our $200,000 back first. And so they ended up needing another $130,000. I think the movie was about $330,000. And so James B. Harris ended up, providing some of the money himself and getting the rest himself. So, I mean, that's like 1/3 of the cost of the movie he brought in himself. Really did a bang-up job producing and getting the book and getting the funding to make this movie possible. And so they made it, and then MGM, came on board, and it came out. It didn't do particularly well, but it was reviewed well and became a jumping off point critically for Kubrick to get other projects going. And he and James B. Harris worked together again on Paths of Glory and some other things. And so it was this is the beginning of Kubrick. And James B. Harris is a big part of the reason Kubrick is known, because without his producing, without getting this film off the ground, even though it didn't make a bunch of money, it still was the one that really made an impression on people. And when you watch it, you'll see what I'm talking about. And like I said, it's still one of my favorite movies he's ever done. Is it as good as 2001 or Dr. Strangelove? Probably not. Ultimately, it's certainly more inconsequential than those films. But I still think there's a great little scrappiness to it that I really, really enjoy. And I was really excited that Kino was putting this out on 4K, and I was happy to get an Alan K. Rode commentary because, like I said, he's incredibly reliable, always comes with really solid commentaries, and even throws in, he's one of the guys I will allow to get away with making little comments like about somebody's outfit or some moment in the movie. He's able to do it in a way that it's not, the whole commentary is not about that. He's much more factual and anecdotal and thematic. And when he throws those little bits in, I always think it's funny. And he's got a really neat style that I enjoy in his commentaries. And he's just, very incredibly knowledgeable man when it comes to classic film. He knows his stuff. So Alan K. Rode commentary and a new transfer is really good for my money for this Blu-ray, or sorry, this 4K. So that is what you get with this one, and I do recommend it. I do think it would go well with, as I said, the Killer's Kiss 4K, which has just recently come out as well. So you can get your early Kubrick on with, a couple of his, films that really establish his abilities, and you can see the roots and the beginnings of what he's going to do. Like I said, it just really is fun to watch a filmmaker that we know would become one of the great filmmakers of all time in the early stages, when he's still really doing good things, but, it's not at the level that he will be. I always find that stuff inspirational because, even if you watch this, you're like, well, I couldn't make a movie that good either. That's fine, but it's neat to see a progression. I really do think that helps, if you are a filmmaker, or if you're aspiring to be a filmmaker, I think it's hard to look at a masterpiece and not be overwhelmed by it. But I think when you examine a filmography from the beginning and see how, not all filmmakers come into the world fully formed. You see the things they're doing right, the choices they might make early, some things they might calm down about later on, and you can examine it as a greater body of work. I really do think that is an advantageous thing to do to help inspire ideas, even just for shots, camera moves, whatever, for filmmaking. And I think Kubrick is one of those guys. So anyway, this is a great movie for that, as is Killer's Kiss. I really do think the compositions of Killer's Kiss and the way that he shot it, it's not the greatest story in the world, but it really is distinctified by its visual aspects. And this is a continuation of that, So if you're a Kubrick fan or if you're a filmmaker and you want some ideas, I do think these are the kind of films to watch, and they will get some juices flowing, I think. That's my take anyway. So definitely check this one out. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.